Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on the road to success.
Today, we do have a special guest. Hey, everybody calls him Coach, and we're going to call him Coach too. Coach Mosley, man, we are happy to have you here on the Success Journey Show. Yes, and sir. If you guys don't know about Coach Mosley, you guys need to get up with the times. All right. Hey, Coach, for those people that don't know you, just give them a brief synopsis of who you are, where you're from, and what you're about.
So you like built me up, man. I'm really nobody, but you know what? I'm a junior college coach out here in California, East LA College. I also teach kinesiology. But so I think the latest in March, there's a Netflix docuseries that came out, Last Chance You, and the previous 5 seasons, what it is it's a docuseries, and it follows community college or junior college students, if that's what you, or JUCO, student athletes. And so they follow football for the last 5 seasons, and this year they follow basketball. So I'm the basketball coach here at East LA College. So far, it looks like this is kind of surpassed in terms of viewing. I think it's close to 300 million viewers in regards to who've streamed and kind of binged on the show. So it's really stories, man. I mean, there's a lot of people that probably take a look at it and say, well, I'm not really into sports, but it has nothing to do with the necessarily the sports. That kind of draws us in, but it has these stories of these young men, and there's an area that doesn't get talked about, man. We talk about the high school kids. We got our parents to help build them up, and then we got the university kids. But there's a community college group that nobody's kind of following or documenting what's going on with those students that are at the community college, and let alone sports. And so they really followed some young men, and they followed our program. And it's got a lot of great reviews in regards to being one of the better docuseries of the year. It's an Emmy-winning show for the past 5 years, and I'm sure whatever awards they got coming up will at least be nominated for something, because everybody's following it, and we've got a lot of people that have reached out, man. It's just authentic. It's real stories of young people in their early 20s or their late teens, and they're going to community college, and they got struggles, and they got all these issues in their lives. So that's what draws a lot of people in, and where a lot of people were really drawn in by this story.
Hey, I can tell you, Coach, let me tell you something. I found your show on I think it was a Saturday night at like 10.
Yeah.
When the sun came up, I was watching. I called this brother, and I said, Rick, you have got to get on this thing. This is crazy. I was just calling people and just telling people, because the message that you had, it's so crazy. I want to jump to one thing. I'm gonna tell you that you're a better man than me, and I'll tell you why. I want to know, what did you have in your heart, or what? Well, of course it's God, but how did you deal with Joe? That episode when Joe walked out on you guys, he left. If it was me as a coach, bro, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Don't come back.
Yeah. And
you told him you're not giving up on him. He'll have to give up on himself before you give up on him. Walk us through that. Walk us through the mindset when that is actually going on, because somebody's watching, and in hindsight it's 2020. Yeah. But what were you thinking at that moment?
You know what? It's knowing the story of that individual. And, I kind of share this advice with everybody in kind of in leadership positions, that is kind of living out the burdens with these young men, because first of all, I see myself, man. That same Joe Hampton, I see me, man. I'm seeing this dude. I'm like, man, that used to be me. And there was several people that poured into me and didn't give up on me. And I'm just, I kind of look back on myself. I say, man, if one or two guys didn't just say, look, look, John, let me tell you, you tripping right now. If they didn't do that, man, I don't know where I would be because we were foolish. I mean, you talking about young men that are 17, 18, 19, 20, and we were all that age, and we remember. Now, some of us, we had some positive influences. I had a great dad, but some didn't, and some are just, even with having a dad that was there and had impacted I was still going the other direction. There was just a few more seeds that were planted, but there's diamonds in all these young men, and we just give up on them kind of right away. And I saw the diamond in them, and I knew the story. I knew, and I think in leadership, sometimes we see the reaction without even finding out what's going on, finding out what the issues are. You knew exactly what he was going through in that moment. So I get all this credit for hanging in there with him. But you know what? That was invested time and research into what am I going to be able to do to make him successful and what's going on in his life. And so I see that we're coming out of it, but then he has his response. And I'm like, you know what? If I give up on this dude don't even know that, man, if I just give up on him, it's over for him. So I just kind of laughed like, man, I ain't giving up on this dude because this is it. And the response was not warranted. It was no reason for the response. And I'm like, okay, this is an irresponsible response. And it's because he doesn't know. But I see the diamond, I see the gift. I see the gift that he has. And I'm like, man, this gift is not going to be allowed to shine if I just kick him out because of this irresponsible response. So my duty, and I tell a lot of people, it's not for everybody. For me, I just feel like, look, man, I'm going to help him out of the gutter. And I'm going to say, look, I'm going to go ahead and laugh and whatever, ignore his responses and say, look, you got all these gifts and talents, because most people will give up. And that's what he wants. He wants to see. That's his way of seeing if he can trust me almost. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can trust him. Let me just act out, because I got to keep this shell. I got to keep this wall up. I got to let everybody know that I don't care. I don't whatever. Let me keep this up and let me see. And I'm like, man, that's fake. Let me just move. Let me get through that. Let me cut through that. And let me continue to pour in and not give up on him and say, because when he showed up, he did work. He worked hard. He did what he was supposed to do.
He's nice. He could play too.
He can play, but you got this response. And I'm like, all right. And that's what we got to help young people out of. That's a part of teaching them maturity and how to be professional and we got to teach them how to respond. I look at a lot of NBA players and I see them in their first couple years and they're wide-eyed and their responses to the media, their response on the court, their energy level.
Correct.
Then you look at them when now they're, after they get to their late or their mid-30s, they're just so, their comments and all that stuff is just so mature compared to when they came into the NBA when they were 22. Same with any professional athlete. So I think there's a maturity, but we're willing to deal with them, right? Because they're worth, hundreds of millions because of their talent. And just the same, he's worth that much. But you got to know the story. You got to know what's going on. If you knew the burden that he was dealing with, then you wouldn't give up on him either. If you knew what it took for him to get to school today, and you saying, well, you know what? His response has nothing to do with basketball. He's going through this, and this. But it's the relationship you got to have to know that. And I think that's where we lose it. We lose immediately. We want to eliminate him. We see a kid, and I tell our guys, I said, now we got to change. Here's what we got to do. We got to change how you walk into the classroom because your intentions are great. Otherwise, you wouldn't have went to class, right? But the response to the questions, the response to where do I sit? Do I walk in with a hoodie and earrings and AirPods, earpods in my ear, and how you walk in, the presentation. Of course, you want to pass the class. Why wouldn't he? But what does a college professor do? This kid doesn't want to pass the class. Look how he walked in here. What kid walks into a class and doesn't want to pass it? Like, come on, man. Like, what is it? But we got to change that. And so I think my role is to change the outer, change that and peel that off. Because the intentions are the kid wants to pass, the kid wants to graduate, the kid wants a scholarship, the kid wants to play. I mean, he wants all those things. He desires all those things. We just have to peel off the front that they got on.
Yep.
I'm glad you said that. Now I'm listening to you.
Turn your mic up, Rick.
Oh, turn my mic up. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, let me turn it up here. There we go. Better right there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm listening to you, and all the wisdom that you're sharing, even in this last 2 minutes about leadership and things of that nature. Along your journey, when did you start seeing things from this lens? And as you're dealing with a lot of these players or just people in general, what was it that influenced you on that leadership tip to grow to this point of a realization so that you can help these players get to where they need to be?
Well, I think the deep-seated core value is my faith, and that deep-seated core value, it's just something that just will not allow me to not have compassion for others as Christ had compassion for me. I mean, I'm lost, man. I've been lost, and he's brought people into my life to pour into me, to help me grow. And then he's helped me grow in the sense that, the word of God has been poured into me, and constantly the relationship I have with him. And so what he's done for me and the love he has for me is in me now. And so I can't help. That's my response. All right. Now, I'm not perfect. I got assistant coaches that have done a good job. Every night I'm like, dude, I'm about to get rid of this dude. And, sometimes you need that support. Like-minded support, like, bro, he gonna have to go. I mean, it was times, we like-minded, and I'm sitting there with the coaches under my breath, like, man, Joe, I can't take this no more, bro. And then Coach Rob is like, hey, man, hang in there, Coach. I got him, man. I got him today. Like, hang in there. Joe gonna help us win a few games. Hang in there, Coach. And I'm like, all right, man, you get him today.
Yeah.
So it takes a village. It does take a village. It's not just Coach Mosley. It takes a village, and then also it takes a willingness even from Joe to want to do a 180 and say, all right, I'm coming back. He really didn't want to go nowhere. Coach Ken he rolled in the locker room and he was talking. Joe was probably so happy that Coach came in.
You was threatened.
He was happy, Coach. He really didn't want to leave. All right, Coach, because I was about to leave. Coach Hunter was like, okay, Joe.
Yeah, right.
Like, sometimes you have to do that so they don't hang themselves, right?
Yeah.
So it feels like, okay, in this moment, it was really no reason for the poor response. He's not feeling right because I took him out of the drill in practice, and he's like, I'm Joe Hampton. Why am I out of the drill? He doesn't know how to respond. So he's just like, man, forget this. I'm gone. But he really didn't want to leave because nothing bad was happening. Like, it was nothing wrong. I just took him out of a couple drills, and I should be on the court. It's like, man, relax, man. You one of our better players. Like, you don't even know the reason. I maybe took you out because I want to see this guy if he can hang today or something. Yeah. And he's just responding poorly. He doesn't know why I'm taking him out. So he's just like, he thinks it's personal. Man, forget that. So he was really happy that Coach Hunter went in there and pulled him back in. But you know what? I think that's where it comes from. And I share as well. I think my father was this whole sports thing started with, I think we were real young, maybe 6 or 7, where it started with Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, right? And then my dad was the leader of it. And then he said, well, let's sign up for a few things around the city. So let's sign up for Park and Rec and the YMCA basketball and Pop Warner football and all. And then that's how it all started. And so my dad was that way, and 5 minutes from the high school, and some of my fondest memories where after high school, when it wasn't basketball season or something, all of the teammates and players and guys come to my house, and my dad was popping popcorn and he would cut up potatoes like he was in the Army, and then just throw them in front of him. And then have a big basket of potatoes and some ketchup, and so he was one of those guys, and I think I'm similar in that way. That, the life of the party, bringing them in. I love children. I love kids. And I see a little boy. Bring me the baddest boy, the baddest one. I walk around. That kid's got his hands folded and doing it. I don't know what's wrong with me. His hands are folded. Yes, sir. No, sir. But I see the kid that's running circles. That's the kid who I want.
That's what I want. Yeah.
That's the kid who I want to meet. Let me see because there's something going on in his mind.
His head. Yeah,
that's
you're right.
Advanced. It's a little advanced. You can't sit him down. It's advanced. Everybody call it ADD. That kid is advanced.
Correct.
That kid got something going on, and he's got a gift that he's trying to get out, and he doesn't.
Trying to find the right placement for it. Yeah. Trying to find the right placement for it.
And those are the ones. The one who has a level of disrespect sometimes when authority is there. Okay, let me see why you disrespect authority. Because there's been a level of maybe incompetence in leadership, and they just can't stand the leadership incompetence. And they're like, everybody's an idiot, you know? Where can you give me somebody who can challenge me?
Correct.
And so, there's that level as well, that I love that challenge of those guys who it doesn't appear that you can reach. So that's a challenge as well. And I'm actually figuring that out about myself, you know? I figured out I like guys like that. Like, give me the challenge. I mean, don't tell nobody, because I don't want all of the I don't want a bunch of knuckleheads showing up. Right? I told my assistant coaches, like, so we just kind of started connecting with, they took our season away this past year. So we started bringing in all these guys, and now it's like some of these guys are like, it's just like a bunch of guys like, hey, coach, what do you need me to do? I'm like, man, these guys are following directions. I think that they saw the show. Everybody's doing what I'm asking. I'm like, where the knuckleheads at? You know, I said, coach, we gonna need one or two hard head ones, because those are the ones that are fearless when the back's against the wall. Those are the ones that are fearless. You just got to kind of mold them a little bit. So I think that's where it's at. And I don't know, man, but when you talk about guys who are really making mistakes that you want to give up. But if I would have gave up on Joe and quit on Joe, he would have been gone. And I knew there was some. You just got to learn what's going on in their lives.
Man. Cool. And you touched on the docu-series, you touched on this, and I think they did a good job. But for the people that didn't see it, for the people that's left out of the 300 million that haven't seen it, you touched on that work, family, and there's never a true balance, right?
Right.
But touch on that, because you have kids that's playing their own sports, going through whatever they're going through. You have your wife, you have your household. Touch on that, how you balance that out, and how you transfer, you know, that you can't take exactly what you do on the court to home and all those dynamics.
Yeah, so here's what because I can't say that of course it's never 110% in the home and 110% here, but I'm like almost 100%. Energy, when I get here and I walk through the door, energy is off the roof. And then when I go home, it's 100% energy commitment at home. Here's what I think happens. I think our families understand, like if you're in business or whatever you do, I think our families truly understand the commitment that it takes. My family, my kids, they see the excellence that we have, and they know, okay, I'm at home, or if I'm on the phone in the car talking to a recruit, everybody's quiet, let daddy present, if I'm talking to a college coach or whatever I'm doing. They understand the commitment. They understand some days, like you'll see, I think I had a conversation with Deshaun. I'm actually sitting in the office, and he's sitting over there. And that was a moment where Deshaun was waiting around to drive home. He didn't want to hit traffic, LA traffic. So it may have been 9 or 10 o'clock. There's some days I don't. Okay, so I'll be 9 o'clock, and maybe my kids need help with homework, but my wife is doing it. Right now, during this pandemic time, we're not 100% on campus. We just started coming back like within the last couple of weeks. But when I wasn't, there was 100%. They got my time. Here's what I think when coaches ask me, hey, coach, how do you do it where you committed, you're winning, but you got so much you committed to your family? When I was a Division I coach, this is something that I learned. A lot of the Division I coaches, because you're on the road and you're traveling. This is something I learned. When it's work time, it's work time. The family understands that. What my wife doesn't understand. Yes, she does. She understands that. My children understand that. When I go home to home, my work understands my family time. Here's what my wife starts to have a problem with, and they blame it on work. My kid, my wife has a problem with the in-between time.
Mm.
You don't have in-between time if you're going to be fully committed to this. And so what that means is when I leave and come home at 8:30, when normal hours is, 9 to 5, you get home at 5:30. When I decide to come home at 8:30, I cannot go home, sit on the couch, and turn on the remote.
TV. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if I'm going to spend that much time and commitment here, then my social life, my me time, there's no me time. There's no me time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I would go out and recruit, and I have several friends that when we were Division I coaches, we're on the road. A lot of the recruitment, and now it's spread out, but a lot of it, there was a time where all of the AAU tournaments where you could see everybody was in Las Vegas, right? It's in Las Vegas. You can see all of that. So what happens is you go to Las Vegas for almost 2 weeks. And you wake up and games start at 8 o'clock and they end at 10 o'clock. So you're 8 to 10 all day, 7 days a week for a week. You may go home, they have one dead period for a day, and then you go back, and then you go another week in Las Vegas. What I would see and what I tried to stay away from, and what I did stay away from it, was you go and you recruit all day. And not to expose anybody or anything.
Yeah.
But then you decide, hey,
it's Vegas.
We're done recruiting. Fellas, let's go have a beer. Right? Let's go have a beer. And the beer turns into other things. And now you're not in your hotel room until 2 a.m. And what could happen? There's only a couple of things that can happen if you're out afterwards. You could social, go back in and go to sleep, or it can escalate. And believe me, more often than not, it escalates.
It escalates. Yep.
And then you come in and then you start it all over. You go recruit all day. So now guess what? For me, it was important that when I got out from recruiting at 10, 11 o'clock at night, guess what? I would pick up my phone. No, I didn't really have to call. I picked up my phone. Hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm done. And guess what? She didn't call me from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock because she knew that was the time. But what happens is when we go beyond and we still try to live that life, and I think that's what happens. And I think my wife understands that if it's a recruiting time and it's going to be 8 to 10, Monday through Sunday for 1 week, then they get that. But what happens is when we lose trust because we don't pick up the phone after that 10 o'clock time that I told her that it was going to be. If I said, you know what, I got to stay here late because the guys are having these issues, I'll probably be home later, 8:30. But when I go home at 8:30, do I sit on the couch and be like, man, wait, hold on.
Yeah, I got to check something else. Let me
watch Sports Center for 2 hours. Let me digress. You don't know the stress that I dealt with, but that's when the problem starts. That's when you have to say, and that's what we do. Not to say that I don't still do that sometimes, or not to say that when in Vegas, the guys say, hey, coach, let's go eat some. All right, let's go eat. And I go sit and eat with this great coach, and I'm like, man, this is so-and-so from this university. I need to sit and eat with them and network, right? I need to network. But then there's a trust issue where sometimes she'll call and I won't pick up. But there's still a trust because what? For 6 days in a row, I did pick up. But the 7th day, I didn't pick up my phone. And she's saying, and so now when we do talk, I say, hey, I was sitting with this coach. It was a network situation. So I had to do, okay, I got it. But it's not a consistent 7 days a week. Well, why aren't you picking up your phone?
Correct.
It can't be this great network opportunity for 7 days in a row, right?
Do some other networking. Do some other networking.
But then even coming home, maybe every now and then, okay, I'll give them a chance. I really had a really stressful day. This happened, this, that. We lost a game, all this. They understand every now and then that I need some space.
They give you a pass.
At that 8:30, 9 o'clock moment when nobody saw me all day. But for the more often than not, if you're going to be that vested in what you're doing. And you're going to come home at 8:30 sometimes with a load of stuff that you do. Sometimes you got to shut it down and walk in and talk to my son. What's up, man? What happened? How was today? How was your practice? Talk to my daughters. Hey, what was softball like? Who showed up? How was the coach? Talk to my wife. Hey, how was so-and-so? You know, that's one of the best things to do with my wife. She'll tell me about a kid last week who she couldn't get on her nerves that she teaches class.
Yep.
And then a week later, she has no idea. And I just out of the blue say, how was Hector today? She lightens up like, he's thinking about, you know, she'll be in the bed laying down and I show up at 9:30 and walk through the door. She's a little disappointed that I showed up late. But if I start talking about her and what happened in her life, now that takes away. If I come home and just lay down and hop on my phone and start scrolling through Twitter, and I didn't give her that time after coming home at 9 o'clock, that's when you start to lose. Yeah. And that's when the family dynamic starts to break down. So I think that's the most important thing, is to make sure that there's no me time. If I'm going to spend that much time invested in that business, then that's more me time than I lose. If I got a 9 to 5, shut it down, boom. Hey, let me degrade, give me an hour and then at 6 o'clock, now it's family time. But when it's so much like this and you're on the road and you do that, man, as soon as it's family time, there's no cell phones, there's no phone calls, it's 100% family time.
I love how you broke that down, man, because so many people struggle in that area, and it compounds the issue to where, you know, you're dealing with maybe stress at work or at home, and then these things start coming up, and it's like, oh man, no one supports me, no one cares about what I'm doing. You know, how am I supposed to make it big if I don't have the, you know, you rooting for me, you know? And it's those things, right? What are you willing to sacrifice, you know, for the greater good of, you know, just everyone, you know, and really obtaining that success. You know,
there's no guys. You can't have guys' night out.
No.
I gotta have my meet. No, you can't have it if you're gonna.
You're absolutely right, man. It's I hang out with Marlon, you know, and we hang out most of the time via phone call. You know, my wife be right there talking, whatever. But it's like we're hanging out. Our families are hanging out. Our wives are hanging out. Our kids are hanging out. You know, it's just because you know that time is precious, man. And if you don't really dedicate the time and commit to where you are at that present. I love what you said, be 100% a present where you are.
Correct.
You know, and it goes the same way on the work side. You know, don't be sitting at work scrolling when it's time for you to get work done.
Exactly.
Then you're going to be at work longer.
Exactly. So Coach, you know, I know, you know, I want to respect your time here, but I want to ask this, because there's a lot of people, when we talk about success journey, there are a lot of people that seen the documentary, seen this show come out, seen you, like, oh man, he's a regular guy, normal guy, just like me. When am I going to get my opportunity to get a Netflix special? You know, when is it going to happen for me? You know, talk to those people that look at it from that perspective as well. It's like, I've been putting in the time. You know, why them? Why not my team?
Well, it may never happen. Yeah. You know what? We can do, and I share this with some of my young men. We can do everything. We can do everything we're supposed to do, and there's a chance that it may not happen. But doing all these things, doing what you're supposed to do, it puts you in a better place. Nice. It gives you a better opportunity. It makes your percentages go up and be higher. And you know what? I like we talked about before, man, just 100% in what we're doing. And I had these aspirations of being, number one, an NBA player, right? So that didn't happen. I played a little bit professionally. So that didn't happen. Then now you go into start coaching. I want to be a Division I coach, and I'll be this and I'll be that. But you know what? The space that we're in, being 100% present and being 100% like the big time is where you're at. And I think I've always myself personally have taken a challenge and felt like if this is where I'm going to be for the rest of my life, then I'm probably going to be I'm going to try to be, well, forget trying. I'm going to be the best at what I do. For the rest of my life, if it's folding clothes, if it's whatever, I'm going to figure out a way that I'm going to do some type of state-of-the-art clothes holding, something that nobody's ever done. Whatever it is in whatever space that I'm in, trying to be the best, because that may be the last stop. And that might be the stop where somebody can see and somebody can where a door can be open. And if I would have pouted and complained, there's a lot that's wrong with where I'm at. As you saw in the show, there's there's funding issues. Yep. We've had success, but yet still there's eyes are turned and we're looking at people's back like, so what? There's African-American males doing well, which we're looking for. There's African-American young males that are respectful, doing a good job. They're transferring. All these great things are happening, and still you get no support sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so there's a chance that that's going to happen. So what do we have to do? Okay, if we don't have, I was sharing, and now everybody wants to donate uniforms. I was sharing the reason why we wore those camouflage uniforms. You saw those more often than not. Those are the only uniforms that were in the best shape. We hadn't had uniforms in 5 years. And the reason why those camouflage uniforms were in the best shape is because I don't like gaudy. I don't like anything that's gaudy. But we would use those for, what is it? Okay, Memorial Day was yesterday. Veterans Day, I get those mixed up. So we would use those for Veterans Day. And we wear them one time every year. But we had to wear those because those uniforms were in the best shape. We didn't have uniforms for 5 years. So dealing with things like that, you just have to make the best. The kids didn't know that those uniforms were 5 years old, right? Coach Rob came in and we were, he started, Coach, I'll handle the uniform stuff. And so I'd have to share with him like, hey man, lock that stuff up, get it in the wash right away. And Coach Rob came from a private Catholic school where they bought new stuff every year. And so he's like, what's the big deal with the coach? Just get the uniform shorts from those, because they'll take the shorts, right? The guys will take it.
Yes.
I'm like, Coach, get them from them right after the game. He's like, yeah, but it's all sweaty. Man,
that's all right.
So how we had to handle the uniforms and all the different type of things, because I'm thinking I may not get uniforms for another 2, 3, 4, which the uniforms were 5 years old. So you just still live in that moment and you take care of what you have and you enjoy what you have. And the players didn't even know. They didn't know. And I remember my mom telling me she grew up in the south side of Chicago in the rough part, and they were on welfare or whatever they called it back in the day. And she said she remembered that they were on general relief. And part of it was, of course, you get a check, you get the government food and cheese and all that stuff. Yeah. But what they gave to the young ladies is they gave them dresses, right? They gave them a dress as well. And she said, everybody knew that if you wore those dresses that you were poor, right? But my grandmother, she cut those things up and resold them, and she ironed and creased those things. And my mom and her sisters, they mobbed to school in them dresses and they thought they were fire. And they had no idea that they were on welfare, because those dresses were creased better than the girls who had dresses that were purchased. They was on point. And they swore that they was rich because those dresses was laid, and they mom did a special, my grandmother did a special cut on those dresses, and she cut it and restitched it and, made it fit a little bit better and all that. Wow. And so just what you have and just doing the best with what you have and living in that space, because you may never get, and it doesn't mean, the success we've had, everybody watches the show and I'm like, that was just a show we were on. The success we've had, we've been having. The players have been graduating. We have been winning games. We've won that way. It was just documented. That's all. It was just documented. And they chose me, and I think it was just God's plan. It was his purpose to choose me. But there's a chance that never happens. And Coach Mosley is doing the same thing over and over again.
Just doing it.
I'm still pouring into people's lives. And the fact that it was documented and it had success, it shows that if you continue to do what you're doing and you grinding and working, it doesn't matter if anybody sees it. And for me, I didn't care if anybody saw it. I came to a point in my life, it's like, no, I'm pouring into these young men's lives. And it has such an impact because it was authentic. That's what I do. Our coaching staff does. This is what our players go through. Wow, this was great. It was perfect. It wasn't perfect. It's what normally happens. That's what's documented. And we've had some years that if you documented some of the other years, you would have like, it was better than this year that we had here.
Right.
So Netflix better come back at you.
They missed half of the season. They didn't come until December. And they barely got documented. I said, y'all, they really missed all of the good stuff. You know, they missed August, September, October, when I was kicking people out. I mean, you saw me run up a wall. I was running up the wall. I was running up the ceiling in August. In September, when I was trying to get my point, when I was trying to break, I'm trying to break all of these characters. I'm breaking them. I'm breaking souls so that I can build them back up. And so that was a lot that was missed. And it was no change. Yeah. It was actually toned down when the cameras came, because by the time they came, to be honest, the team was under control. We kind of had them where I wanted them. They missed where I was. Shoot, I was going home sweating that night. Like, now I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, you know. By the time the cameras came, we had won 10 in a row, and you know everything was rocking and rolling, and you know I was like that Joe Hampton outburst. I'm like, man, that ain't nothing, you know. So it's what it doesn't matter the excellence that you're doing. So what if a camera is there or not? I just got this job. Like, this is the most stable job that I've gotten. And yeah, I mean, everything is in, all things work, and I share this, and I tell one of my favorite scriptures is all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and they're called according to his purpose. So everything is going to work out for God's purpose and God's glory. So if we align ourselves with that, it's going to work out. We can be in the gutter right now, and you just got to trust that it's going to work out and that God is going to work it out so that he gets glory. And if that means putting you on this platform, then that's fine. If that means he's going to get glory out of you being in the gutter, then you got so be it. Then we have to be content. As Paul says, we have to be content, you know, in whatever state that we're in, realizing that God has his perfect plan is going to be worked out. We got to be content. It just so happens that they did this documentary, and I got the opportunity. I still don't feel no different. And I actually feel a little embarrassed about how a lot of people are celebrating it. And I'm like, dude, that's what we should be doing.
Correct.
You know, I feel bad. I feel burdened that you mean to tell me there's not enough people here that are, you know, pouring into other young men's lives and helping. And, you know, I'm just kind of, it feels kind of disgusting that why are you guys celebrating me? I'm like a normal, I didn't do nothing extraordinary, you know? So it's what we're doing. You're doing it. It's just not a camera on you. You know, we're doing it. I just got the job, and it took forever. Like, I just got a job where I feel comfortable financially and I feel some stability. I was coaching at Division I's. I was coaching at universities where you're under the pressure of winning games and you get fired if you don't. And then the salary wasn't that great. So now you lose a job because you get fired because, you know, I'm assistant coach somewhere and I'm under someone else and you bouncing around. And finally I get to a community college where my salary is I started out with a stipend. It was like $15,000 for a couple years, and my wife had to hold it down. I'm in my 40s, man. I'm like, man, I'm a grown man trying to live. You know, I got kids, and I said, let me do it. And I just had to trust God, and eventually things worked out. They said they're never going to hire you as a full-time faculty there. And, you know, God worked it out, and ultimately he showed himself up. He showed out, and here I am. I got a full-time faculty position. So now there's some stability. I got a faculty salary. So now, you know, there is a level of, now I can really go full in, and I can, you know, everybody asks, when are you going to move? I'm like, man, shoot. What am I moving for? I'm stable right now. You know, if I get fired, it's from the faculty teaching. And so I got to teach, and I'm evaluated on teaching, not coaching. Coaching is just a stipend. If they want to fire me, heck, take that $15,000. hey, I can spend that time and go do real estate. That $15,000, I could do something like that. Because that $15,000, I'm doing an extra 40 hours a week coaching with that basketball stipend, and that's taking away a lot. If they take away the coaching from me, man, and I just teach and come in and teach and leave at 2:00, there's so much more you can do with that time, but there's another level of commitment. So I'm fine. But it took years. It took me years, and it took relationships. It took prayer. It took being in the right place at the right time. And sometimes it doesn't happen until late. And you say, well, that person is lucky. And I'm very grateful for the journey that I've gone on.
Yes,
and I'm glad it didn't happen any other kind of way. Although when I'm in my 20s, I'm like, why does my friend get that opportunity? Why is my friend all of a sudden, I'll tell you something. I was working for a company. I was a headhunter for a year. We got let go from a university, and for a year, I was a headhunter, and it was called Athletes to Business. And I would go get student athletes, and I would introduce them to Fortune 500 companies. And so I would help them through interview process, and I would coach them as a career coach and coach them how. And I had relationship with hiring managers, and man, I was grabbing these kids at 19, 20. And these companies was hiring these kids. I'm like, man, I'm in the wrong business. These kids going in the, like, what the heck am I doing, man? I got into this basketball. These kids walking in the door getting 75 to 100 grand, entry level positions. I'm like, man, where was that opportunity when I was
coming up here, right?
And so I was struggling, but my opportunity for stability didn't come till, right now, until I was 44 when I got offered the tenure position. And I just got my letter last May that I'm full-time faculty, tenure position. So sometimes it comes late and everything is just coming, now they got this documented. So I don't know, and it may never happen. I thought, it may never happen for me. And so in this space that I'm in, I'll just create my own excellence in the space that I'm in.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, I'm telling you, you were I'm thanks for wearing our shirt too.
Yeah, got you.
It says dream, drive, discipline, and diligence. And you embody that. We call that our quad Ds. We said if you apply that and what you just talked about, that if you apply those 4 things in any areas of life, the dream, drive, discipline, and diligence, that you will be successful. Now, we're going to close it out because I know you're a busy man. And I'll tell a quick story before I do that. It's funny, when I was trying to get your attention to come on the show, and I know you're a busy man, there was one text that I sent you, and I did it in my Coach Mosley voice. I don't know. I said, Coach, what are you doing? You got to answer this text. What are we doing here?
Yeah. I remember that. So, it caught. Man, I'm talking about thousands of DMs I'm getting, and thousands of DMs on my Twitter. So my goal, man, now here's June 1st. And I'm thinking my goal is to actually try to reach everyone. So if you're out there, hopefully I get a chance to connect with everybody. I'll still probably got about 50 phone calls that I got to follow up. I've gotten phone calls, and I'm missing out. There's some people that I think would like to donate, and I'm still trying to get to that stuff. And there was opportunities that's come up that I've probably lost opportunities from some high level people, but if it just so happens that you got me on that day,
Yeah, man, I'm grateful that I got you. So I'm going to tell you, we always ask this question, and I want to know how you're going to answer this. If you could go back to the 14-year-old John Mosley in high school, the kid that was, his dad was cooking up the potatoes, and he had people over. You're at school, you're playing ball. What would you say to that to that John Mosley?
You know what? I wish I had a closer relationship with God, because I think I wouldn't have made as many mistakes, because I would have had a level of conviction that I wouldn't have made as many mistakes if I had a closer walk with him. I wish I don't know if I have a voice for those young people now. Maybe, young people speaking to young people, my age speaking to my age, or my age speaking, or me speaking to coaches, or me speaking to, my space, or whatever gift he gave me to speak to a certain group. But I wish I had a stronger conviction. I knew about God, and I was in church. I wish I had a stronger conviction And I think it would have prevented me from making a few mistakes, you know. And when I say mistakes, yeah, they're catastrophic. There's just some mistakes that I got away with. You know, I got, maybe didn't get caught. Maybe I could have been in jail. Maybe I could have, you know, relationships with young ladies and different things like that. Some mistakes that I've made that I wish I had a more conviction that would maybe have further along to my career. You know, maybe I could have taken more risk if I didn't make some of those mistakes. So there were some risks I didn't take because of some mistakes that I made, you know. You know, there's some things that I've done because I didn't have conviction, and it caused me to get behind academically. Because I was behind academically, I had to go to junior college, you know, and junior college put me in a different space, you know. But at the same time, it led me in the, you know, the journey that I'm on.
Yeah.
But if I can fix that, yeah, there's a level of conviction. I wish I had a closer walk so that I can have a conviction to not make some of the many mistakes, some that cost me, and some that didn't cost me. But those are things that I wish. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Man. Hey, thank you. Hey, Rick, I'm gonna let you close up. Hey, Coach, I know next time you're on the docu-series, you're gonna rock the shirt for us. And
I got you.
You got me. All right, yeah. And tell Coach Hunt I'm tripping.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send him one of the bags. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
And, Rick, I don't know what you got to say.
Yeah,
Rick.
Coach, man, appreciate you for coming on, man. The wisdom that you shared, man, and I hope all of our travelers and listeners across the world that have not got a chance to check out that docuseries, go check it out on Netflix. Everyone has Netflix. If you don't have one, your friend got one, your mother got one, your brother got one, your sister got one. Get on there and watch it. And not just for the excitement aspect, but just to see the character of the coach here and how he tries to embed that into the players, man, and really get them to their full potential. Coach, we appreciate you. We really thank you. And to all of our listeners, we'll catch you guys next week at the same time, the same place on the Success Journey Show. Everyone have a good one. Peace.
Hey, well done.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show, where your dreams, drive, determination, and diligence are the foundation to success. For more information, check out thesuccessjourneyshow.com. The Journey Squad is here helping you to your destination.